Eat, Pray, Love is a best-selling memoir by American journalist Elizabeth Gilbert. One standout sentence that I harnessed from a newspaper review of her book is, "I'm a better person when I have less on my plate." Irish playwrights take a different stance. George Bernard Shaw once famously remarked that there is no love sincerer than the love of food. Oscar Wilde deliciously scripted, "After a good dinner, one can forgive anybody, even one's own relations." Reflecting on today's Gospel from Luke, I was reminded of Oscar Wilde's play Salome. The scriptures tell us that when Herod offered to fulfill a request after Salome danced for him, Herodias, Salome's mother, urged her to ask for the head of John the Baptist, who had opposed Herodias' marriage to Herod. In a wonderful scene in Wilde's play Salome, Herod hears reports that Jesus of Nazareth has been raising the dead. "I do not wish him to do that," said Herod. "I forbid him to do that. I allow no man to raise the dead." This man must be found and told that I forbid him to raise the dead. This is the bluster of the tyrant who knows his power is threatened. And so often today, I hear the same tone of voice, not just in the powerful who want to carve up the world to their advantage, but also in many intellectual traditions who are super skeptical about resurrection. Wilde has a haunting line that is the real crunch for us today as for Herod. Where is this man? The man's Herod. "He is in every place, my lord," replies the courtier, "but it is hard to find him." Luke portrays the disciples as obviously still struggling to believe in the resurrection. Jesus attempts to ease their doubts in 3 steps. First of all, he talks to them. Secondly, he invites them, "Look at my hands and my feet. See that it is I myself." Thirdly, Jesus says to them, "Have you anything here to eat?" While Herod reportedly thought Jesus might be John the Baptist raised from the dead, he didn't think he was a ghost. Resurrection meant bodies. We cannot emphasize this too strongly, not least because much modern writing continues most misleadingly to use the word resurrection as a virtual synonym for life after death in the popular sense. When the early Christians said that Jesus had risen from the dead, they knew they were saying that something had happened to him that had happened to nobody else and that nobody had expected to happen. Resurrection is not the redescription of death. It is its overthrow, and with that, the overthrow of those whose power depends on it. Despite the sneers and slurs of some contemporary scholars, it was those who believed in the bodily resurrection who were burned at the stake and thrown to the lions. Resurrection was never a way of settling down and becoming respectable. Resurrection was always bound to get you into trouble, and it regularly did. Our task in the present is to live as resurrection people in between Easter and the final day, with our Christian life, corporate and individual, in both worship and mission, as a sign of the first resurrection and a foretaste of the second. Jesus' receiving food from his disciples is a distant echo of the meals that they shared together, and an anticipation of the early missionaries becoming guests in various households. In Acts chapter 10 verse 41, Peter, in a household visit, tells how the disciples ate and drank with Jesus after he rose from the dead. There is a contemporary climate which has made it unfashionable and even embarrassing to suggest that Jesus' resurrection really happened. Luke seeks to transform doubts into faith. Your doubts are allowed to be. They drive you to deepen your faith and to liberate it from projections and illusions. Resurrection people eat, pray, and love. Recall the courtier in Wilde's Salome saying, "He's in every place, but it is hard to find him." At Holy Communion time, the risen one places himself into your wounded hands so that the light of his love might shine in your wounds. Both Wilde and Luke recommended sitting at table. Luke powerfully presents Jesus explaining the scriptures and how forgiveness flows from resurrection. Wilde invokes table fellowship as a catalyst to forgive, even one's relations. The risen one can dissipate your doubts and lead you to faith and joy, so that you can say with all your heart, "The Lord is truly risen. I too have seen the risen one. He is risen within me." Amen.